I want to read a story today that's for the husbands. If you're not a husband, but you're a wife, you can share it with your husband. Actually, the principle works either way, but the story is primarily for husbands, and it's called Johnny Lingo and His 10 Cow Wife. Get Johnny Lingo to help you find what you want, and then let him do the bargaining, advised Schenken as I sat on the veranda of his guest house and wondered whether to visit Nurabandi. He'll earn his commission 4 times over. Johnny knows values and how to make a deal. Johnny Lingo, the chubby boy on the veranda steps, hooted the name, then hugged his knees and rocked with shrill laughter. Be quiet, said his father, and the laughter grew silent. Johnny Lingo's the sharpest trader in this part of the Pacific. The simple statement made the boy choke and almost roll off the steps. Smiles broadened on the faces of the villagers standing nearby. What goes on? I demanded. Everybody around here tells me to get in touch with Johnny Lingo and then cracks up. Is it some kind of trick or wild goose chase, like sending someone for a left-handed wrench? I think maybe there is no such person, or is he the village idiot, or what? Let me in on the joke. Not an idiot, said Schenken. Only one thing. 5 months ago, at festival time, Johnny came to Kiniwata and found himself a wife. He paid her father 10 cows. He spoke the last words with great solemnity, and I knew enough about island customs to be thoroughly impressed. 2 or 3 cows would buy a fair to middling wife, 4 or 5 cows a highly satisfactory one. 10 cows, I said. She must have been a beauty that takes away your breath. That's why they laugh, my guest said. It would be kindness to call her plain. She was little and skinny with no endowments. She walked with her shoulders hunched and her head ducked as if she were trying to hide behind herself. Her cheeks had no color, her eyes never opened beyond a slit, and her hair was a tangled mop half covering her face. She was scared of her own shadow, frightened by her own voice. She was afraid to laugh in public. She never romped with the girls, so how could she attract the boys? But she attracted Johnny. And this is the story Schenken told me. All the way to the council tent, the cousins were urging Sam to try for a good settlement. Ask for 3 cows, they told him, and hold out for 2 until you're sure he'll pay 1. But Sam was in such a stew and so afraid there'd be some slip up in this marriage chance for Sarita that they knew he wouldn't hold out for anything. So while they waited, they resigned themselves to accepting 1 cow and thought instead of their luck in getting such a good husband for Sarita. Then Johnny came into the tent and without waiting for a word from any of them, went straight up to Sam Carew, grasped his hand and said, Father of Sarita, I offer 10 cows for your daughter. And he delivered the cows. As soon as it was over, Johnny took Sarita to the island of Cho for the first week of marriage. Then they went home to Narabundi and we haven't seen them since. Except at festival time, there's not much travel between the islands. The story interested me, so I decided to investigate. The next day, I reached the island where Johnny lived. When I met the slim, serious man, he welcomed me to his home with a grace that made me feel like the owner. I was glad that from his own people, he had respect unmingled with mockery. I told him that his people had told me about him. They speak much of me on the island? What do they say? They say you are a sharp trader, I said. They also say the marriage settlement that you made for your wife was 10 cows. I paused, then went on, coming as close to a direct question as I could. They wonder why. They say that? His eyes lighted with pleasure. He seemed not to have noticed the question. Everyone in Kiniwata knows about the 10 cows? I nodded. And in Narabundi, everyone knows it too. His chest expanded with satisfaction. Always and forever, when they speak of marriage settlements, it will be remembered that Johnny Lingo paid 10 cows for Sarita. So that's the answer, I thought, with disappointment. All this mystery and wonder and the explanation is only his vanity. It's not enough for his ego to be known as the smartest, the strongest, the quickest. He had to make himself famous for the way he bought his wife. I was tempted to deflate him by reporting that in Kiniwata he was laughed at for being a fool. And then I saw her. Through the glass beaded portieres that shimmered in the archway, I watched her enter the adjoining room to place a bowl of blossoms on the dining table. She stood still a moment to smile with sweet gravity at the young man beside me. Then she went swiftly out again. She was the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. Not with the beauty of a girl who carries fruit. That now seemed cheap, common, earthbound. This girl had an ethereal loveliness that was at the same time from the heart of nature. The dew-fresh flowers with which she'd pinned back her lustrous black hair accented the glow of her cheeks. The lift of her shoulders, the tilt of her chin, the sparkle of her eyes all spelled a pride to which no one could deny her the right. And as she turned to leave, she moved with the grace that made her look like a queen who might, with enchantment, turn into a kitten. When she was out of sight, I turned back to Johnny Lingo and found him looking at me with eyes that reflected the pride of the girls. You admire her? He murmured. She's glorious. Who is she? My wife. I stared at him blankly. Was this some custom I had not heard about? Do they practice polygamy here? He, for his 10 cows, bought both Sarita and this other? Before I could form a question, he spoke again. This is only one Sarita. His way of saying the words gave them a special significance. Perhaps you wish to say she does not look the way they say she looked in Kiniwata. She doesn't. The impact of the girl's appearance made me forget tact. I heard she was homely, or at least nondescript. They all make fun of you because you let yourself get cheated by Sam Carew. You think he cheated me? You think 10 cows were too many? A slow smile slid over his lips as I shook my head. She can see her father and her friends again, and they can see her. Do you think anyone will make fun of us then? Much has happened to change her. Much in particular happened the day she went away. You mean she married you? That, yes, but most of all, I mean the arrangements for the marriage. Arrangements? Do you ever think, he asked reflectively, what it does to a woman when she knows that the price her husband has paid is the lowest price for which she can be bought? And then later, when all the women talk, as women do, they boast of what their husbands paid for them. One says 4 cows, another maybe 6. How does she feel? The woman who was sold for 1 or 2. This could not happen to my Sarita. Then you paid that unprecedented number of cows just to make your wife happy. Happy? He seemed to turn the word over on his tongue as if to test its meaning. I wanted Sarita to be happy, yes, but I wanted more than that. You say she's different from the way they remember her in Kiniwata. This is true. Many things can change a woman. Things that happen inside, things that happen outside. But the thing that matters most is what she thinks about herself. In Kiniwata, Sarita believes she was worth nothing. Now she knows that she is worth more than any other woman on the islands. Then I wanted to marry Sarita. I loved her and no other woman. But I was close to understanding. But, he finished softly, I wanted a 10-cow wife.